Here we go. It's funny, like when I first started YouTube, I was all pumped about it. I bought a camera, I was ready to go, had all these plans, and then I did it. I sat down to do it, and I got in front of the camera, and I was like, to record my first video, and I had to, I couldn't do, I was bummed because I was like, oh, this is hard. This is really hard.
Yeah.
Just talking to a camera, and then I made my first video, and I brought it home to my wife, and I was like, what do you think? She's like, that's not you. And so like I made a couple videos at the beginning I never posted just because I was so awkward on camera, and
Yeah.
still working on it. So anyways, let's I'll officially start.
Dude, I'm probably the most awkward person you'll ever have on your show. So
Well, good. We'll be an awkward conversation with two white dudes. Okay, here we go.
that's good. There's your title.
Hey, worship leader, welcome back to the channel. Today I have with me Jonathan. I should have asked you how to say your last name, but I think before we started, Azzarello.
That's it. Nailed it.
Azzarello. It's pretty simple. Just one minute.
simple.
Yeah, Jonathan Azzarello. I wanted to have him on the channel because we've actually never met. This is our first time meeting, but we have some mutual friends, and I know the ministry you're at is solid. You just wrote a book. We're going to talk about that. So I want to have you on the channel. How are you doing, man?
Yeah, man. I am great. It is so nice to meet you. I've followed Hey Worship Leader for a little while, so it's nice to finally meet.
Yeah.
And yeah, dude, thanks for having me on.
Tell us a little bit about who you are. I know you got some kids. I looked you up on Instagram. You got some kids. Tell us about your family life and then where you serve right now.
Yeah, so I have obviously I'm married. I have 6 kids, so all biological. I have a set of twins in there.
Wow.
Yeah, so we live in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, which is not too far from you, I think. And man, I'm at Mercy Hill Church, which is a Summit church plant, a Summit Network church plant, and I have been here since the beginning when it launched. I wasn't part of the launch team, but I attended the first Sunday on the launch, which was September of 2012.
Wow.
And so now, yeah, man, it's been a wild ride. I mean, even COVID aside, it's been a wild ride. Just
Right.
going from a church plant in 2012 to having, getting ready to launch our 5th campus
Wow.
this year. And so it's been really cool, man. It's been something that God has been part of, and it's been awesome to be part of it as well.
Wow. Yeah. Summit Plant. For those of you who don't know, because I don't talk about it a lot, but I used to lead worship at the Summit, but we never actually saw each other. Well, because you weren't at the Summit, but yeah, that church was planted like a year before I got to the Summit, but I had heard about it. And yeah, when I saw you, I didn't realize how close we were. It's just maybe 3 hours, not even, maybe, I don't know, down the road.
I think it's less than that. I think it's maybe 2 hours.
Oh, okay. There we go. Well, then we should meet up for lunch sometime.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. So you've been married how many years?
I've been married for, wow, you put me on the spot, didn't you?
Uh-oh. 15 years. Awesome. This year's our 15th. So we're probably,
Congratulations.
yeah, man. But we only have half the amount of kids. So we have 3.
Well,
I think we're stopping. So that's good.
well, that's what we said too. So
Right. So, now I think some of your kids are musicians, right? I saw a video the other day. You got some drummers and
yeah, man. So my oldest son, he actually just turned 14. He plays at in the student band, which is really cool because we have a great student band, but he plays electric guitar. He's never played like for a church service. We've never done like a student takeover or anything like that before. A lot of churches do that and do it well. Right. I've always been really just kind of like reluctant to like do that, and we did it, and dude, it was so cool. It was so awesome to see my son up there playing. My other son, who is a twin, he's 8. He plays drums. Wow. And so those are pretty much my 2 instrumentalists, and then everyone else kind of sings.
Yeah, man. So if the whole worship leading thing doesn't work out and the book doesn't take off, you can just start a family band.
That's right.
That's right. Awesome. Well, I wanted to jump in and ask you about this book. I just got it. I literally started reading it the other night. I'm only 1 chapter in, but there's some really solid content in here. Tell us how this project came to be. Whatever you want to say about it, man.
Yeah. Man, I never set out to write a book. If you would have asked me a year ago if I would have ever even considered it, I'd have been like, nah, that's not my thing. I love to write songs, but like, I had no desire. But man, I would say for probably the last 2 or 3 years, I feel like the Lord has been teaching me something really unique, very paradigm shifting for me, for
Mhm.
the way that I think about worship, the way that I think about following Jesus. I'm in it just my time in the Word. I have a really close friend who lives in Charlotte, and man, we have been like reading through different books of the Bible together, and I just, man, I felt like I have seen this line, this thread that goes through all of Scripture, which we know that, right? Like the Bible is all one story. So, but man, I just feel like there's an emphasis in Scripture that was just like, it is a super like small. It's not emphasized enough in churches and in Christianity. And so I went on a missions trip in 2019 to Italy, and man, I got back from the missions trip 2 weeks before Easter, which is a bad idea if you're a worship leader and you're thinking about, honestly, I never really experienced like the mission trip hangover, as they say. Like you get back and you're just like, what
Yeah.
are we even doing here? And so,
Right.
but that happened on Easter, so that was just like terrible timing. But also, I feel like it was such a God thing because, man, I feel like God just started like he lit this fire in my heart, and I tried to write songs about this. I tried to like, be able to put these things to words in a way that like I could share them.
Mhm.
And I just really struggled. So one day I just like went and I just like I put all these things to paper. And about 3 chapters in, I was like, dude, I'm just writing a book. So I didn't write a book as like an expert with so much to say. I wrote the book as just a worshiper man who couldn't suppress what was said to me.
Wow, man.
And so, yeah, man, I wrote it. I've been just super excited to share it. I hate to, I know everybody probably says this, but like I legitimately, probably my personality type, I hate like self promoting like putting myself out there and like, hey guys, look what I did.
Yeah.
I just don't like to do it. It doesn't bother me when other people do it.
Right.
But I don't know what it is. But anyways, I feel different about this because I'm like, man, I just feel like this is straight from the Lord, and I have no problem sharing it. So I've been
Yeah.
really excited about it, man.
Well, I'm glad you did, because if you hadn't, I probably wouldn't have heard about it. And it's some great content. I mean, I highlighted some stuff. I just want to read, man, page 18. Worship is desiring something so much that you long to be transformed by it. And you go into the whole thing about how what we worship transforms us. And it's just, it's so rich, man, because that applies to whatever we worship, and we're always worshiping something. I'm like,
Yeah.
man, that's a message people need to hear. And we're just on page 18. So I can't wait to see what the rest of the book holds. But
Cool, man.
man,
That's awesome.
it's been encouraging. So if you're watching this video, where can they find the book? I guess it's anywhere you buy books.
Amazon for sure.
Amazon.
I self-published it through Amazon, so it's on Amazon, Amazon Kindle.
Wow. That's awesome, man. We definitely go get your copy. Now you mentioned your personality, so I'm interested. What personality type are you? Is like Myers Briggs or Enneagram or any of that? If you take any of those tests?
Yeah. So I always laugh with the Enneagram one, man. I think everybody who says that the Enneagram they don't find like they don't have a number that they fit into.
Uh-huh.
Everybody automatically is like, well, you're a four.
Right.
You're the individualist.
Yeah, yeah.
So, all of my friends, my wife, everybody's like, babe, you are a four. But
Mm,
I'm like, man, I don't really see it. I mean, obviously, I'm creative. All the this
yeah.
worshiping community. I mean, we're all creatives, right? But like, I don't know. I guess I'm an Enneagram four. If
Okay.
you're like really deep into, now listen. I have spent some time trying to. I'm like, dude, who am I? And I'm like, I guess I'm a four wing five is what I
Uh,
am. So,
okay. So you go to the five. I'm still learning. I'm trying to
yeah.
get my numbers down. Me and my
What are you?
wife's. I'm a nine.
Okay.
I'm a nine. Yeah.
Yeah. Man, I
So
have I have a couple of friends who are nines, and my one of my coworkers, one of our worship leaders, he's also our producer. He's also a nine. So there's
yeah.
a lot of similarities, I think, between a four and a nine.
Yeah, I think so. Because you were saying the self promotion thing, that I think that's one of the things that hindered me when I first started the channel. I was like, I can't stand this. Like it goes against my nature to
Yes.
to do this, and I feel like people are judging me and all this stuff. But at the same way, I was like, I feel like there's something here, and people need this, and I just had to get over myself and just turn on the camera or whatever. And
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, man. So for people that don't know, the Enneagram, a four is like the individual. Individualist.
Individualist.
You,
Yep.
you care a lot about your surroundings and the way things look, or how does that play out for you as a person, and maybe even how you lead your team, your worship team?
Yeah. Man, I feel like for me to talk about the Enneagram 4, I feel like I am naturally drawn to like I see the really bad side. So the Enneagram is supposed to be a tool to help you understand your motives
Mm.
and help you to grow out of them, out of not out of your motives, but to grow out of where your weaknesses are, right?
Yeah.
So I see them and I'm like, man, I do see my weaknesses for sure. Because I feel like a lot of the individualist is kind of like, man, I'm just going to go against the grain, whatever. Like,
Mm.
I do see that. Like, okay, so I come from a family of four. I had two brothers. Man, we grew up in the Bay Area in California, San Francisco Bay Area. So all my brothers, all my family, diehard San Francisco 49er fans. I mean,
Okay.
just like everything, like back in the day, like Steve Young, Jerry Rice, right? And
Yeah.
because they were 49er fans and the 49ers would always play against the Green Bay Packers like in the
I knew
playoffs,
that's
I
what you were gonna
became a
say.
Packers fan. So I'm still a Packers fan. I mean, I don't follow football like I used to, but so when I started digging into it a little bit more, like I was like, well, yeah, maybe I am just like a pretty quintessential four.
Yeah, yeah,
So yeah, man, I'm driven by like creativity. I'm driven by like wanting to kind of just be unique, I guess.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And then the wing five, I'm still learning the arrows and the wings. I focus more on the arrows because I feel like that's the where you go in your redeemed state, where you go in your unredeemed state is how I like to put it. And so yeah, the wings, I'm still learning. But a five,
Yeah.
that's like research, I guess.
Yeah,
Kind
yeah,
of.
yeah. So I think the wing is more like okay, so like fours don't necessarily put you in you can't they say like people who are like psychologists and people who are actually like Enneagram experts say like, man, you can't type somebody else because
Right.
your core type isn't based on what you look like or what you act like, it's based on your motives.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of times your wing gives more of that like what you act like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay.
So it's funny because I think the wings are usually like almost a complete opposite
Mm.
of the actual type. So like an individualist is like, man, I am, I am just like very, driven by creativity. I'm driven by like, I don't know, that kind of stuff. Whatever.
Yeah.
A lot of fours are very like bohemian,
Yeah.
style. But like the five is like, like the researcher. Like I want to just like study everything, and I'm like, that's what's strange to me is because like every time I take the test, I'm a wing five, but I'm like the least curious person I know. So I don't know. I don't know. I'm
Yeah.
not really sure what that's all about, man. I'm still trying to figure out myself too. That's
Yeah.
why I
Yeah.
know so much about the Enneagram is because I've like, dude, I've read it. So maybe
Yeah.
I have done some researching, right? I'm telling
Right.
myself.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm like, I don't know. I don't see myself in that much. So I don't
Yeah.
know.
You research to find out who you are, not just for the lack of knowledge. I just want to acquire knowledge.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. That's awesome. So what do you just real quick, we'll get off this topic. People are bored. But what are your arrows? Where does the four go in like the
I'm trying to remember where I go in my weakness. I think it's like I want to say it's like a two. So in
mm,
my weakness would become like maybe clingy,
okay.
but like in my strengths I would become like a one, which is like more of a perfectionist.
Okay.
More organized and structured. So
Yeah.
I do, that is always kind of like nice because I read that and I'm like, oh, cool, I'm healthy because I'm pretty organized. Like
Right. Yeah.
I'm not an organized person in general, but I feel like in my work, like as a worship leader and a worship director, part of this is just because Mercy Hill being a Summit church plant, you would understand this.
Yeah.
It's just like everything is very calculated and very organized, and so that's just kind of been sort of baked into the DNA of like our culture. I think.
Yeah. Awesome, man. Well, tell us a little bit about your team and how you lead and what you got going on over there. You got a lot of campuses. How does it look for you?
Yeah. So, I mean, man, up until like 2015, it was one campus. We were meeting at a park, like a park clubhouse. I was leading every single week. I mean, I would lead through, rain or sunshine, laryngitis, you name it. I would
Mhm.
lead. And then it took a little while to sort of like raise up some new worship leaders. It took me getting really sick to where I had to be like, hey man, I need you to lead tomorrow because I'm literally like laying on my deathbed right now. I can't lead tomorrow. Um, and then of course, anytime I would do that, somebody would totally just like rise up and like be better than I was, you know. And so I was just like, man, that's awesome, and that's terrible at the same time. Like it's humbling, you know. But now we have, like I said, we have 4 campuses. So two of those are in Greensboro. One is in like the High Point area, if you're familiar,
Mhm.
and then one is sort of like Oak Ridge. It has a Greenboro address, but it's Oak Ridge kind of. And so, man, we have like a structure where we're pretty centralized. If you're familiar with this language of like multi-site church, um, highly centralized just means like, man, we do a lot of everything like at like kind of in the offices through the week, and we have pretty much like a carbon copy model at every single campus. I mean, like the campuses all look the same, they all feel the same. We
Yeah.
play the same set, the same everything. Um, so I have 4 campus worship leaders who are just awesome, very gifted leaders, gifted singers and musicians. 2 of them are full time staff, 2 of them are part time staff. The 2 that are full time, obviously, they have like central duties also. And so that's kind of what it looks like for us.
Yeah. Wow, that's a lot. Yeah, it reminds me of the summit days, man. I came from not having any of that to like, man, down to the second with live streaming at the other campus, whether I was at the broadcast campus or the other campus waiting, and they would give us a signal being like, the dude went Hank Murphy, he's saying talk too much, so you got to stay on stage a little longer or something like that.
Yeah.
All that planning center stuff, and it was fun. It was
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah, man,
Yeah.
that's great. Yeah, now I'm at a church where I brought a lot of that there, but it's kind of like a happy medium where I like to be. There's just one campus. I don't have to worry about all that different stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely brought that organization because that's what was good about it, man. You're organized, you know what to expect a lot of times, and
Yeah.
I think a lot of people like to know what to expect, no matter what personality type they
Absolutely.
are. So,
Especially the
man,
volunteers, right? I mean, they appreciate like,
yeah,
hey, we wanna come Sunday and like know what you expect from us, and
yeah.
the more preparation, the better.
Yeah, even the creatives, because it's like if you set the boundary, then they can be as free as they want in that boundary. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
oh, yeah, I think
Absolutely.
that's just a good principle in general. So, what's the last song you taught your church?
Ooh, the last song we taught our church is an original,
Okay,
um, which I am very excited about. It's called "The Battle Is Yours,"
okay,
and so that has been, a lot of times. I don't know if you do a lot of original music at your church, Jimmy, but when we introduce like any kind of original song, um, the challenge is that okay, if you're gonna lead a Bethel or a Hillsong or an Elevation song, there's a small chunk of people in your church, like a core chunk of people who already are gonna know it or at least are familiar with it.
right,
Um, and so they're gonna sing along with you even the first time you sing it. When you do an original song, I mean, unless you've somehow been able to put that in front of people,
right,
man, it's really hard to gauge because you get the deer in the headlight looks from everybody.
right.
And so it's just kind of like, is this song terrible or is it?
Yeah,
So it's been really encouraging because this is an original song that like from the very first week we played it, I feel like it just was really well received, and it's been like awesome for us. So I'm really excited about it.
is it anywhere we can listen to yet, or is it
Yeah, I mean it's on YouTube. You can listen to it's just an acoustic version of it.
okay?
And so Lois, one of our campus worship leaders, she sings it and kills it. Of course, she's awesome.
Yeah,
And so, man, that's it's a really cool full band song because it's like a little bit more hype, a little bit more energy,
right.
which is also kind of unique because like for me, a lot of times when I go and sit down to write a song, it's like it's like a teardrops on my guitar, Taylor Swift song. It's just like
Right. That's awesome. So,
yeah.
is this song one that you wrote? I couldn't tell if you or did somebody else write this one in your ministry?
Yeah, yeah, I wrote this song. So I wrote this
Okay.
song out of the book of Joshua, just from like my time in Joshua. Like I love being able to take like about 2 hours, at least like once a week, where I could read through, a chap. So every day I try to read through like a chapter of whatever book I'm in. So right now I'm in Matthew, but like before Matthew I was in Joshua, and I read through Joshua like one chapter a day or every other day sometimes. And I love to take at least one day a week where I can just be like, man, take some of the things that I've journaled from it
Mm.
and just sit down and write, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
So I wrote this song. It's called, it says, "The battle is yours, but I'm going in knowing you've already won." And I
Mm.
just think it's really cool that, like, man, we're going into battle knowing that, like, Jesus already has declared victory, like, but we still
Yeah,
go into battle. It's not like
yeah.
Jesus fights our battle so we don't have to go fight. No, it's like it's both, right?
Right.
He's fighting for us, but he still calls us to go into battle. So that's kind of what the song is about, man. It's just, yeah, man. I've been really encouraged by the message of it from Joshua,
Yeah.
and encouraged to see how people have been sort of grabbing onto it too.
Man, that's awesome. I can't wait to hear it.
Yeah.
Yeah. The most recent song we taught our church was Every Victory, and it kind of reason I picked that, it's like the Belonging Company. Um,
Yeah.
it's fairly new, but
Yeah.
it has that same thing. Like the victory is his. We're
Yeah.
still a part of it. So yeah, I just love
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
whole theme, man.
That's
That's
cool.
that's awesome. So we're I'm on YouTube and people love gear. So what kind of gear, instruments? Do you play electric, piano? Do you play anything? What do you do?
Yeah. So, man, I am not a super like gearheady type guy.
Uh-huh.
Mainly because I've always been surrounded with really like, guys just like that.
Yeah.
So I haven't had to be. You know what I mean?
Right.
I play a Martin acoustic guitar, um, and I pretty much just only play that. I have a Larrivee also, but I play acoustic. I sing. Um, I I have a really muddy sounding voice, I think, and
Okay.
so I feel like whenever I'm leading worship, they always are like, "Oh wait, pull out John's mic. We got to get John his special
It's
diva mic."
EQ just right to bring it all.
That's right. So I think it's well, it was a Telefunken for a little while because that's kind of like brings out some of that brightness.
Yeah.
And now I want to say it's a SM9. Does that
Okay.
sound right to you?
I have no idea. I know
Okay,
about
cool.
guitar stuff, but I know about this microphone because it's the one I have.
Okay. Yeah.
No,
So for a guitar, man, I play through. I just use like an RV6 reverb pedal,
yeah, yeah,
and that's pretty much it. I have a tuner, and I use a little, like the little Looptimus Mini.
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
have that on my acoustic board as well,
Okay.
and I just use that for like if I'm leading an acoustic set,
Yeah,
like a staff meeting or something like that, and we don't have a drummer, I could still cue Ableton using that.
yeah, yeah. Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
That's pretty technical. I've been looking into that too with because I can control Ableton with my pedal board as well.
Yeah.
I don't ever need to, but I was
Yeah.
like, I want to know how to just in
Yeah.
case.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, that's
It's
awesome,
fun.
man.
Especially if you can get some like some pads
Yeah,
tied to it. Like if you're running it in not in arrangement mode, but like in session view, and you
right.
could kind of put pads like in different keys,
Oh yeah,
and you could just like if you're running an acoustic set and you're like, hey, I got two songs in two different keys I'm gonna lead. You could just cue a pad so that you have a little bit of like ambient underneath your acoustic, and that's really cool.
I'm actually about to make a video about that, and it'll probably come out before this one because I
Okay.
just I just if you go to heyworshipleader.com, little commercial break here. We have our own worship pads. I made a 3 set bundle. So
Oh,
yeah,
no
I'm
way.
just getting into all that and gonna make a video about how to use it through the iPad and actually run it through. We talk a lot about the HX Stomp on this channel, and it's a MIDI control. You can do a lot of MIDI stuff with it as well. So you can
Very
control
cool.
Ableton with it. And I like to help people who might be doing what you were saying, where they're just leading by themselves, but they want a fuller sound. And so you can actually run your iPad or your phone through your HX Stomp and send the pads out and switch and
Yeah.
stuff like that. So I'm about
That's
to make
cool,
a
man. That's
video
awesome.
about that and announce that. So, anyways, yeah,
That's very useful.
yes,
Very useful tool to have. Like if you've ever led an acoustic set with just an acoustic guitar and you want to have a little bit of like freedom to just like noodle and
right.
do something that's not full strumming the whole time, it's a beautiful thing.
It really is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Let's see what else. Had some other questions. Okay, and I meant to send these to you before, so I know I'm putting you on the spot. But what is your biggest, and I'll say these two questions, maybe something will come to your mind or you can think, but what is your biggest aha moment
Mm.
in worship ministry? And part two is, what is your biggest never do that again in worship ministry? So
Ooh.
I know I meant to give
Uh,
you these ahead of time, but
yeah, no, these are great questions. I feel like I have a lot of answers for that second one. I could tell you a lot of things to never do again from experience. Um, Man, well, my greatest aha moment, I'm going to cheat a little bit. First of all, I'll say obviously the biggest one for me is what I wrote about in my book, which I kind of
mm,
already shared. So I won't go too deep into that.
yeah.
But man, I would say that similar to that, my biggest aha moment was that like being a good worship leader, especially in a, when you think about leadership, I think
Hmm.
a lot of times we as worship leaders think about just leading from the microphone,
Yeah.
leading a congregation, but like in terms of leading a team and being able to lead in raising up new leaders, like a good leader is going to raise up other leaders,
Hmm.
and that was a big aha moment for me. That being a good worship pastor and a good worship director does not mean that I'm going to be the only worship leader. Because if I'm the only worship leader, then that means I'm a terrible leader. You know what I mean? In
Right.
a
Yeah.
sense, especially a church our size. Now, if you're like at a smaller church or something like that, man, that's not a one size fits all statement. But I do know for us, we were a big church. We had a lot of people coming, a lot of college students, and I was the only guy, leading. And man, it took me just being able to like, you know, take the spotlight off of me a little bit and
Mm,
just be like, man, give these people an opportunity. And it was challenging for me, I think, at first to let other people lead,
mm.
because I felt like, I wanted to like control it. I wanted to like be able to be like, well, I can do it better than these people, which
Right.
was true at the time. But I had to realize, man, like, okay, I'm a visual guy. So like if I'm leading right here and there's a new up and coming person who leads right here, it makes sense for the sake of this weekend that I lead.
Hmm.
But it makes sense for weekends to come that I go ahead and let him lead now, because this is probably my roof and this is his floor, and there's a really good chance that
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
just going to get better. So and iron sharpens iron, I feel like, too, when you let more people in. So man, that's kind of a big aha moment for me, because the first time that, and I've shared this on other podcasts too, but like the first early on when I let people come in and lead, I was very reluctant to let them just like lead without me just totally controlling it. And
Mm,
also, I was like a little bit maybe jealous. Maybe it's a little bit of that Enneagram 4 coming out too.
yeah.
Like, man, everybody would come up to me and be like, "Dude, that new worship leader is so good," and I'd be like,
What about me?
what about me, right? And it was very humbling, which I
Yeah.
think is such a God thing, because it's almost like if we're not to the point where we're okay with that, then it could be sort of like a check yourself moment. Like, hey, as a worship leader, we'd say, no, it's all about Jesus, it's all about Him.
Right.
But if we're like, well, what about me? Then it's kind of like, well, maybe we do need to sort of just check ourselves a little bit in that. And I definitely did, man. I was so self-consumed as a
Mm,
young, inexperienced worship leader. Which this sort of gets to your second question of like, what would you not do?
right.
Man, I put a lot of time into like what I sounded like, what I looked like, what people thought of me. And now, I think those are all still really important things. You can't you can't throw those things out the
Right.
window, but you do need to consider those things, because impressions and stuff like that speak too. But I think it just took me, which this again sort of is in line with my book, which I'm not going to try to get into that. It's about so much more than that, man. It's not,
Mm,
and you know this, and a experienced worship leader knows this and probably has walked through this too. Like, man, I used to leave Sunday mornings after leading worship, and I would drive home and I would listen to the recording, because like we would record ourselves through the board through like an aux channel, and it sounded terrible.
right.
And I would listen to myself and I would just be so discouraged. I was like, man, I sound terrible. And like, man, I was so pitchy, and I would be comparing myself to, tuned, produced recordings
Right.
of other people.
Yeah.
And I would just get really discouraged, but it consumed me. Like, I was just
Mhm.
so driven to sound better, to look better, to be better. But my motives were like about being a better, being known as a good worship leader.
Yeah.
And as an introverted person, which I am like in the Myers Briggs, I'm an INFP, right? So that's kind of like your classic like introverted,
Yeah.
quiet, like, but also pretty observant. Like I'm always really aware of what people in the room, what's happening, but
Right.
I'm always very unaware of myself. And so I would always be very like self absorbed.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I have had to grow in that, and that I think the Enneagram and also the Myers Briggs has helped me to grow in just like, man, it's way more about the relationships with people and the relationship with
Mhm.
God than it is about me. And like, man, I need to lay my pride down, and I need to be way more like focused on like, hey, checking in with my team, checking in with our church, and just like listening, having a radar open and listening to them and just being like, man, like what does the church need right now? And like what is
Mhm.
God showing me, and how can I present it to them in a way that like builds them up, and leads them to see Jesus in a glorious way.
Yeah. Man, that's awesome. It's such a good message for people to hear, especially worship leaders, because worship leading is different than a lot of other positions in the church because it's very close to being a performer because you're on stage, lights are on you, you're performing, and you should perform well. Like you don't
Yeah.
throw that out the window, but we are like pastoring our people. It's not about it's like the motive thing, it's not about
Absolutely.
um what we can get out of it, but our flesh is always fighting that, that same thing. I still, get in the car, I'm like, okay, what did the live stream sound like? I want to know. um
Yeah.
and yeah, that's just a battle we have to fight, and a lot of it's like, okay, I need to, I need to know what it sounds like so that I can improve. There's that side of it. We always need to be looking to, get better in our craft and hone that. But the motive is different for a pastor or someone looking to minister to their church. And so, yeah, I think the stage can draw a certain type of person that desires the stage for the wrong reasons. And worship ministry is that. So it's something that it needs to be talked about, because some people will be hearing this for the first time and thinking, oh yeah, that's me. Maybe I am consumed by the wrong things a lot of times. And when you get past it, man, it's so freeing.
Hmm. Yeah.
It's there's nothing wrong with being an artist and putting out music, but there is a certain kind of anxiety that can come with that, because you're putting yourself out there. But in ministry and worship ministry, it's like, man, this is God's, and I'm just stewarding it. And you can
Hmm.
even look at your own art that way. But
Yeah.
and when you get there, it kind of takes the pressure off in a sense. It's like, I'm going to do the best I can. At the end of the day, God is going to be pleased with where my heart is more
Yeah.
than if I sang on key. And man, that's good, because people need to hear that.
Yeah, yeah, I think exactly the way you just said it right there too. It's just like, man, these things are important and they are good, and you can bring glory to God by like doing things with excellence, and
Hmm.
creativity, because that points to God, the Creator,
Yeah.
who is excellent. But at the end of the day, above all of those things is your motive, your heart motive, that we love God and that we're loving the people in our church, for
And
sure.
I think one of the kind of reversing the way you just went, one of the best ways to do that is to pour into other people,
Hmm.
because it helps take you out of the spotlight sometimes, even though that's hard. Because everything you described, I was like, man, I was right there, but, um, I think before we started recording, I was talking about the fact that I had a kidney transplant, and 2 years ago today, so kidney anniversary today. Um, but man, I was out for like 12 weeks. I couldn't lead. And if I hadn't committed to pour into guys years before that, I wouldn't have had anybody to take over. And luckily we were, I had I had like 3 or 4 dudes that were just could step up, had already been in the system. They could run rehearsals. And I was like, fine. I didn't have to stress about it. I was almost stressing like, are they going to need me when I come back?
Right? Yeah, yeah.
you know, but it was just a testament to God's faithfulness that as hard as it is to let go of those things, that's what he desires of us, and he will bless that. And even if, you mentioned different church sizes, like even if you're listening to this and you're at a small church and maybe it's just that one youth kid you pour into, or maybe it's just your son or your daughter, like it's that mindset shift of I'm going to pour into whoever God puts in my life. And I think once you open up to that, God will bless that, send you people. And yeah, that's a good word.
Absolutely.
Very cool. I want to ask you some quick this or that, just to get to know you, Jonathan.
Okay.
The people need to know who you are deeper than the enneagram. We need to know dog or cat.
Is neither an option?
Yes, it is.
Yes.
Yes,
I have never had a pet before. Never.
Oh wow. Oh, that's pretty cool. I'm a dog person. I would say my wife is trying to tell me that I'm not a dog person right now because I don't want a dog. I don't want a pet. I'm like, our life is full. We only have 3 kids. You got 6. But yeah, I'm like, I just don't want to have to take care of another thing.
Yeah.
Our
neighbor has a dog, a little dachshund, and our kids get to play with it all the time.
Yeah.
And then it goes home. And we don't have to clean up after it or feed it. I mean, it's honestly, it's really a win-win for us. So
I need to make sure my wife watches this portion of the interview, that it is okay to not have to have a pet. Okay, Netflix or YouTube? You're just going to go watch something.
Netflix.
Netflix, okay. Well, Disney Plus, I want to add that in there. Are
Disney
you?
Plus.
Yeah, Disney.
Netflix. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. That's good. Yeah, that's good. What are you watching on Disney Plus? You like Marvel stuff? Well, that's another question. Star Wars or Marvel?
Ooh, Marvel.
Marvel. Yeah.
Marvel for me. Yeah, I really like the Marvel stuff.
Yeah.
The Avengers.
Me too.
Favorite Avenger? Who's your favorite Avenger?
Depends on what day it is, probably. Like, there's my favorite, and then there's like, if I were to be one of them, that might be a different answer. I mean, because I think I'd want to be Thor, because it just seems like, yes.
You kind of look like Thor, honestly.
That's what I.
You just need to grow your hair out a little bit, but
I look like Thor from Endgame.
No, that's not what I was saying at all.
Oh yeah. So, and then Iron Man. I mean, who doesn't want to be Iron Man? I don't know.
Iron Man is the best, dude. He's my favorite for sure.
I love it when they're like, "Take that suit off. Who are you?" And he's like, "Billionaire, philanthropist." He's still.
That's right.
Yeah. What about you? Was that yours? What's your favorite?
Oh yeah, Iron Man.
Yeah.
I like Robert Downey Jr. I think he's a pretty funny guy. Even before the Avenger movies came out, I liked the Iron Man movies, and after the last, is it still a spoiler even though the movie's been out for like 3
it can't
years
be
now?
Just talk about it. Here we go.
Just talk about it. Yeah, dude. I mean, who doesn't see the picture of like Jesus laying down his life through Iron Man, right? So
yeah, man, we should write a song about that.
Dang, that's right. If you could put Iron Man into a song lyric, then you have just mastered the art of songwriting.
That's for sure, especially if it's for congregational worship.
Absolutely.
Okay, are you more of a phone call or a text type of dude?
I'm a text guy.
Okay.
But if somebody's going to text me something negative or something that's like requires a little bit of slapping on the wrist, it's a phone call for sure.
It's a phone call.
It's a phone call, 100%.
I just want to make sure you weren't, some people are like, I'll text you, and then they call you right back. You're like, dude, I started the text thing.
That's right.
Not the call thing. But it's funny because I do that sometimes. And it's only because somebody will text me. I'm like, oh, I'm going to get to that later. And that later is usually when I'm driving. And I'm like, ooh. And then, so even though I feel like I don't like that when people do that, I'm probably more guilty of it because I'm like, okay, this is the downtime I have. It's my drive time, and I can't text and drive. So
texting is easier. And I mean, honestly, I feel like I'm one of those guys who like I just am like quiet all the time. Like I'm not gonna walk around and be like that guy who's just like on his phone in the middle of the offices. Everybody can hear him laugh. Like I admire that person. I wish I could be that person, but that ain't me. I'm the guy who watches all the videos just with the subtitles and the volume down,
Yes.
That's me.
We are very similar in that. And that's funny because I've interviewed a couple people on this channel before. I want to call them out by name, but they're the exact opposite. Like one interview, he was just in his office and people are walking through and I'd be like, that's fine. I would just never be able to do it. Like
no way.
My family's in the house right now because we're all home. and I got like the door shut, a fan blowing, so I had to try not to hear them because it would just distract me, and I
Yeah.
don't know. And then there's another friend of mine, I want to say his name, Chad from Leading Worship. No, not Leading Worship, Worship Leader Hangout. We'll be on the phone, and he can just talk kids. He's like, oh yeah, I'm just like cooking right now and holding a baby or whatever, and
Yeah.
fixing a bicycle, and he's just talking, and I'm like, I have to go get somewhere quiet just so I can like focus on a phone call. But
That's right. That's right. I'm the
anyways,
same way.
it's funny. Yeah. People are different. Okay, so you're going to go mindlessly scroll. Maybe you do that.
Yeah.
Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram.
Instagram.
Okay. Are you on any of the other platforms?
I am on all three of the ones you just mentioned, but I am on them like very sporadically. I mean, Twitter I check once a week.
Okay.
And basically I post on Twitter whatever I've posted on Instagram or Facebook.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like otherwise I'm not even on Twitter. I
Yeah,
used
yeah.
to be, but not anymore.
Is Twitter on its way out, or is it just a different group of people? I mean, I don't.
It's I think it's just really like honed in on like it's politics, it's
Hmm.
like social issues and things that are happening. At least the people I follow,
Right.
and so maybe that's why I'm not on it as much anymore. Honestly,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Because I never got on there either. I mean, I was on there. I have an account, but I never get on there. And I'm more visual. I'm a visual person.
same,
And
same.
so I'd rather see a photo and be drawn in, or a video. That's just how I'm wired. But
Same.
everyone I've had on the channel ask this question, it's Instagram still. And I don't know if it's just because we're all the same age basically, or
Yeah,
maybe because we're all worship leaders. I don't know.
yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe yeah, because even Facebook is a little bit overwhelming for me. There's
Hmm.
too much going on. I'm like, I don't even understand it, how to keep up with it anymore. But
Right.
Instagram is just like pretty simple
Yeah.
and straightforward and visual. So that's my jam.
Yeah. The only reason I still do Facebook because I don't like it as much either, but there's groups I like to connect with. So it is gear or worship leader groups. I still use Facebook for that mainly. And that's all my feed is just those groups
Yeah,
and
yeah,
who's saying what. And I get my updates on like, hey, line six just released something. And I usually find out through the Facebook
that's
group.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
I'm on Facebook because my wife and I have like a joint account.
oh, you're one of those.
Yeah, yeah, yes, yep. Well, okay. So funny, quick story. I hope I'm not like I feel like I'm really long-winded today,
No, it's
but
fine.
on Facebook. So like a couple of years ago, there was this guy who kept messaging my wife, and on Facebook, who was like a guy who went to high school with her, and it was like really like weird, kind of like inappropriate stuff, you know.
Yeah.
And so she showed it to me, and like I saw it, and I was just like,
I
no.
don't like
So,
that.
anyways, I just also I know people and have heard of people who just like, man, it's just not a good situation for like a married person. Like obviously everybody's different, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm not saying this for I don't believe everybody should do it this way, but for us, it was just kind of like a way to protect our marriage a little bit more, so that we
Gotcha.
could kind of like see each other's stuff. So
Yeah.
we have that. But since I published my book and since it's self-published, I'm like posting a lot about it.
Yeah.
But my wife also does like she does like a side business thing.
Okay.
So I tried to not totally just like take over. She's on it 90% of the time.
Gotcha.
So I just created like a little page that's connected to my Instagram, so that way
Yeah. Yeah.
my posts go to that instead.
What does she do? I'm interested. We can cut it out of the video if we need to, but
She does like hair shampoo stuff.
oh,
It's
okay.
Monate. You've probably I don't know if you've heard of it before.
I haven't, but maybe I need to.
Okay. She swears by it. She has naturally curly hair. She loves it. She was
Huh.
just like a big fan of it, which is she had a friend who sold it to her, and everybody she's ever showed it to and who's used it has kind of said the same thing. They love it.
Wow.
It's really good. It's like very like all natural. It doesn't have all of the stuff in it. So there's a free commercial for her, right?
Boom. There it is. Go check it out. Link in the
Go
description.
check it out.
Go check out their joint Facebook account. No, it's funny because I'll have friends who have the joint Facebook account. And they'll comment on something, but maybe I know the wife more than the husband, but I don't know exactly. I'm like, who commented that? And I'm just like,
Yeah.
I don't engage.
Yeah.
That's funny. All right. So, music or podcasts?
Music.
Music. Okay.
Although I am 90% of the time I'm just like a drive in silence guy.
Really? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So, but if I'm gonna listen to music, if I'm gonna listen to anything, I'm just gonna put on like background music, like
Gotcha.
jazz, classical, something that's like singer-songwritery, pretty
Something to
chill.
cleanse the palate from all this worship stuff.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
Yeah, I do the same thing, except mine's usually metal, but we're
Okay.
just different.
Yeah. Clear the palette of brain cells and
That's
stuff.
right. That's right. Just clear it all out. All right, Apple or Android?
Apple.
Apple. That's a majority of the
Yeah.
people. I already know the answer to
For
this
that.
next question because you're a four. But no, I don't know. I usually ask this big, broad kind of take it however you want, but form or function?
2 hours later.
Wow. I am gonna just try to process that one for a second. Form or function? How it kind of like how it looks or how it works, right? Or
I try not to give any kind of clarifying because I like to see how people's brains work and put them on the
ooh,
spot.
wow.
But yeah, yeah.
I feel like function would be a little bit more useful than form. At least whenever I think form, I think of hook. Good form, Jack. I think
Oh, that's run home, Jack.
that's right. That's right. That's what I think about. So form, kind of as defined that way, is different than form as most people would define it.
Right, right.
I feel like function. I'm more of a functionality guy, probably.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. That's not what I was thinking actually, because I was thinking of four. You would care more about and this may be just how we're interpreting
Aesthetic.
the aesthetic of it. Like for me, and I end up saying this in every video. So, but people usually don't make it this far in the video, anyways. But like my pedal board, I'm based. I have all these pedals, and they're like, "Oh, you should have just got a helix, like a full helix." And I'm like, "Yeah, but I don't like the way it looks. Like the way it looks matters that much to where obviously
Yeah.
obviously it has to work,
Right.
but but
Yeah, but the thing about form and function is, I guess why I think I would struggle with that is because like the two need to coincide, which I get
yeah,
that's the point of the question.
yeah,
But it's not like Apple or Android is like, well, dude, I don't need an Android. I got Apple, it can do everything. But
right.
like, I feel like if I'm writing a song, function, I need to have like the lyrics need to serve the
Mm,
purpose.
yeah,
But if
yeah.
you have a good lyric with like a really terrible melody, then nobody's gonna remember that lyric, and it's not gonna be functional. So it takes both.
So this is how it plays out in my life is like I am drawn to a song first by the form, and I would just say that's the musicality of it before I'm even interested in the lyrics. Where some people are like, just let me read the lyrics first, then I can enjoy the song. So that's like a difference of how maybe they approach it. Where
Yeah,
it's like if it doesn't sound good, it could be greatest lyrics in the world, but I would have to change the song. And so
yeah,
next, that's the kind of how I am.
yeah.
But
Well, that's kind of like saying, well, which does God want more from people, their heart or their mind? It's like,
you
yes, He
gotta you
wants the
gotta
heart.
have both. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, cool, man. Man, this was a good discussion. We probably should end the video. I'm trying not to make them too long, but I think
Okay.
that's a good stopping point. Anything else you want to
Okay. That's a
say?
good one.
But for real, guys, go get the book. You Are What You Worship. Great book. Definitely go check it out. I'll try to link it in the description if I remember to do that. And go check out the new song that you can find on YouTube. It's not your YouTube. Is it your YouTube channel? Do you have a YouTube channel?
No, Mercy Hill Worship.
Mercy Hill Worship. Go check it out. Well, we're going to end here. Thank you guys for watching. If you liked the video, hit the like button, subscribe so that YouTube likes this channel more and can get the message out to more people. Appreciate you guys. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.